Now, before you say that I'm a salty Sony hater, let me just tell you up front that I'm not. This, for example, is amazing. Like, I love it. And this is incredible. And this, but this, the Sony Xperia 10 Mark II, it has been quite a while since I've seen a smartphone this doomed on arrival. Seriously, look at the first thing everyone compares, the on-paper specs. At its core, the phone is powered by a Snapdragon 665 processor, 4 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of expandable storage. Sure, the expandable element is good, but those specifications just feel way too dated for a 2020 Android smartphone in the premium mid-range category. At first I thought, okay, maybe this phone is better than the sum of its parts, but if we're talking about performance, that's definitely not the case. This phone is slow. Even with the light stock Android, which I adore, I was not able to get over how sluggish the phone felt. Apps take longer than necessary to launch, and if you're planning on doing any multitasking, you're not in for a fun time. And it's not just because this phone has a standard 60Hz display either. In fact, I'd say that the 6-inch Full HD Plus OLED panel is one of the few good things about this smartphone. It's crisp, contrasty, and vibrant, all things I like in a smartphone screen. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of the 21:9 aspect ratio because I think that it's a bit too tall, but the screen itself is nice, so I'll mark it down as a positive. The build, however, is a very different story. Yeah, it uses Gorilla Glass 6 on the front and back, and that's sweet, but the frame is made from this material that feels like... well, it kind of feels like cheap Myvi plastic. Coupled with the low weight, this body ends up feeling way cheaper than it probably cost to make, especially since Sony took the time to give it full IP68 water and dust resistance. This, by the way, I will give them full marks for, because at this price point it's like basically impossible to find a smartphone with full IP68 dust and water resistance, so I definitely appreciate it. I'm guessing the reason for the phone's lightness is because it has a pretty tiny battery. It's only 3600 mAh, which has become an anomaly in a world full of 4000 plus mAh handsets. So I was expecting bad battery life, but I was surprised at how long this phone lasted on a single charge. I got around 5 hours of screen on time with over 12 hours of time on battery. Now, of course, that's not phenomenal or class-leading in any way, but it's probably good enough for most. So far, besides the okay battery, the awesome screen, the awesome stock Android, and also IP68 dust and water resistance, I really didn't find any other redeeming features about this smartphone. I guess the nice thing is that it does have a 3.5mm headphone jack, but the trade-off appears to be that the speaker is awful. Like, it lives in this tiny slot over here and the sound quality is atrocious. But the thing that very nearly drove me up the wall with this smartphone was the camera. First off, it takes way too long to launch the camera app and get it ready to take a photo. This would have been unacceptable in a 900 ringgit smartphone, so it's definitely unacceptable in a device that costs twice as much. Then there's the autofocusing system, which I can only generously describe as sluggish. It hunts a lot, it takes a long time to acquire focus even in good lighting, and when the going gets dark, I wouldn't even bother. Finally, there's the image quality, and well, for the most part, it looks like it was taken by some sub 1000 ringgit smartphone. That means the shots in daylight are serviceable, though I'm not particularly impressed with the dynamic range. However, once the going gets dark, everything just falls apart again lah. Images are very noisy, yet I can also tell that there is a lot of noise reduction going on. Not a lot of detail has been preserved, and the colors in both daylight and night shots are very underwhelming. I guess I should have figured that the Xperia 10 Mark II wasn't going to be like a big camera smartphone for Sony, because they didn't even put like their signature dedicated camera button on this device. By now you've probably heard me reference the price like a whole bunch of times already, but I haven't actually told you how much it costs. Well, there's no easy way to say this because the Sony Xperia 10 Mark II, it retails for 1,799 ringgit. Despite all of the problems, all of that lackluster performance and the subpar camera experience, or maybe it's because of them, this price tag is probably the most egregious thing Sony has done to the Sony Xperia 10 Mark II. For 1,799 ringgit, there are just so many better options out there. There's the OnePlus Nord, a discounted Poco F2 Pro, the Poco X3 NFC, and if you're lucky, a discounted Mi 10. Plus, there's the Mi 10T series, which has just launched, which also outpaces this Xperia 10 Mark II. The only thing that it really has up its sleeve over the other phones is the IP68 dust and water resistance. But is that really enough for you to put up with everything else that this phone falls short in? Not for me. Maybe someone out there can tell me why this smartphone is worth its frankly absurd price tag, but after spending a whole month with the device, I just cannot justify recommending it. But that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit on the notification bell icon so that you'll know whenever we post another video. Also, you can like us on Facebook, but our home will always be at soyachinchao.com. Till next time, I'm Rory, and I'll see you then. Bye.